So that's kind of where we are right now. We're at the point where people think we're crazy. People think that everything we think about, everything we're talking about here online is never going to come to fruition. It's just we're going to continue in this old system forever. And you have to kind of think about all the factors at play here. So you got the ETFs. They have 1 million Bitcoin now. In under 6 months or 6 months, they were able to get 1 million Bitcoin stashed away. The price has gone up, the price has come down. But all they've been doing this whole time is buying more Bitcoin. You have the presidential candidates in the US, 2024 election here in November. Trump has come out, talked about Bitcoin mining, saying that he wants all the Bitcoin to be made in the USA, which I love. I said that right after he said that. That's such a brilliant way to put it. Made in the USA, not mined in the USA, because then you lose everybody. When you say that you're mining in the USA, everyone's just like right over their head. But made in the USA. Then you have phone companies. Think about how much infrastructure these companies like T-Mobile already have in place. And there's going to be kind of a war, I think, between utilizing those data centers for AI, for cloud hosting, and for mining Bitcoin. But it's just going to ramp up and up and up. And as this all happens here, you have AI also in the background happening. AI is pretty much taking over the world right now. And as that continues to happen, as AI gets cheaper and better and faster, and more people start to use it, there's going to be a ton of jobs that disappear, which is going to hurt in the short term, for sure. There's going to be a very weird thing happen over these next couple of years. As prices continue to go up, people continue to lose their jobs. But in the background there, instead of people paying income tax, if you don't have a job, you're not paying income taxes. And somebody left a comment saying that, well, these AI companies are going to be the ones paying taxes now and funding the government. Okay, so if they're the only ones funding the government, they're basically the government now, right? Like, but at the same time, as AI gets better and better, it's going to get cheaper and cheaper. As we talked about on the show last week, we were comparing ChatGPT to Venice.ai. So ChatGPT was kind of like the first one through the door. And they've got all this investment. I think Microsoft owns like 49% of it. But they charge, I think, $25 a month for a premium membership to their AI stuff. And then you have somebody like Venice, somebody like Eric Voers creates Venice AI, very private. You don't need an account. They don't track all your search history in there. And it's $50 per year. That happened in like 6 months. So think about 6 months from now, a year from now, this AI is pretty much going to be free to use, I think, or you can pay Bitcoin with it, but they're not going to be paying all the taxes. They're not going to make that much money off it because there's going to be so much competition. The prices are going to be so competitive, and they're not going to be the ones funding the government. So what I think, my theory here, is that governments are going to start using Bitcoin mining to fund their operations. What's so crazy about that? El Salvador is already on that path to be doing it. Their volcano in El Salvador, their main volcano, has produced over 500 Bitcoin, I think, in the last 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is. So you have this volcano there that forever has just been pumping out heat, lava, and really doing nothing other than scaring people, and people take nice pictures of it. But outside of that, it's hardly been doing anything. And the reason for that is because in order for El Salvador to be able to use that energy, they would have to capture it first. They would have to invest in the infrastructure to capture that energy from the volcano. And then they would have to find a buyer for it. Because El Salvador is such a small country that they're producing more energy than they actually need to use. So when they're a net producer, they actually have to find somewhere to sell that energy to, someone to sell that energy to. And electricity and energy only travel so far. But now that you have Bitcoin mining in play, instead of having to find a buyer for that energy and send that energy somewhere else, you just hook it up to a Bitcoin miner and it basically produces money. And I think once you wrap your head around that, that's one example of volcano in El Salvador doing that. Every country on earth is going to be capturing their natural resources, whether it's volcano, hydro, solar, nuclear, all of their natural resources are going to be captured, and they're going to be mining Bitcoin with that. And that's how they're going to fund their government operations. And that sounds crazy to the average person. I get it. And I took a lot of shit on the weekend in the comment section for that, for sounding ridiculous. But it's the only thing that makes sense right now to me. I think that anything outside of that, if you're expecting the government to repay their $315 trillion worth of debt, if you're expecting them to continue collecting income taxes for not only people who don't want to pay the government anymore because they're sick of their shit, but also because they're not making an income anymore because AI just replaced their job. You think that path is going to succeed somehow? That sounds absolutely ridiculous to me. So it just really depends on where you are, I guess, in your own Bitcoin journey and how you see things in your head. But to me, like, there's no way out for them other than Bitcoin.